was the other
Yeah.
thing. Karen kept saying, "Oh, you guys have the best time." I go, "I know, we really do. We really
We
enjoy
have someone to produce
talking,
messing with us.
especially when our producer's messing with us." Yeah,
Yeah.
playing the do-si-do game.
Yes.
Hi, Barry.
Hi,
This is
Christine.
Going Solo Media. Let's talk about dating. And today we're talking about, do you have time to date?
Hmm.
And I think people really don't understand how much time it really takes. They
Right.
all say they're going to make time when they're ready to date. But I think you need to, like, the making room in your home and your heart, you have to make room on your calendar too.
Yeah. It's like feng shui of the time, in a way.
Oh, I'm going to so steal that and I will give you credit because I,
Sure, just but it's the thing is, it's like, people will put all the effort in, and I've talked this before and other things too. Put the effort in getting a personal trainer for fitness, and you get a financial planner for your business, or you get a business coach to get your business off the ground.
yeah.
But they don't put the energy into making time, whether it's to make time in the calendar to date somebody, or make the time or put the effort into going to see a coach or a guide to get help to get a relationship. They just think it's going to happen automatically. Just click the fingers or a swipe right and it's done.
Yes.
It's more to it than that.
Very much more. So that is certainly the first step that we talk about a lot is, are you really ready? Because if you're ready, and that takes time, working on things on your own, working with a coach. And if you really look at your schedule, because some people have, as I hope, have put a lot of fun things in their life, activities and friends and schedule alone time and sometimes you can make your calendar too full. So then where is somebody else ever going to fit in? And I have to tell you, it is a big complaint I hear from men that they'll
Hmm.
ask a woman out and it's like 3 weeks before they can see them for a half an hour
Right.
because
Of course.
they're picking up grandchildren and volunteering. And it's really difficult. And, I have so many things in my life that I do on a regular basis. And I've really found I have to put on my calendar, blocking out, talking to single men, meeting single men, looking on their profiles and writing to them. And if I don't put it on my calendar, it gets filled with other fun things, but no room for dating.
Right. For me, it's interesting also for myself because being in the profession, I don't have a 9 to 5 routine, so to speak. I have a fairly fluid way I work, and so I have gaps in the day that show up. And of course, I'm thinking it'd be nice to have somebody whose life matches that. Because if I'm with somebody who works full time, to find time to catch up with them isn't going to work so easily during the day to get together because her schedule won't allow that.
Mhm.
So if you're somebody out in the world who is, works 40 hours a week, 9 to 5, meet somebody who's an entrepreneur, you might find there's an interesting mismatch of timing for dating too, because their schedule might be easier to go date, go out for morning coffee or a walk in the afternoon versus only the evenings.
Mhm.
So you really got to plan around. Not only do you have time to date, but do you find somebody whose time matches your time so the schedules
Yeah.
actually fit together?
Yes.
So that's a key piece too.
That is so important. And also in the age group that I coach, most of the time they're over 50. I do have a few clients that are in their 30s and 40s. But the bulk of them are over 50 and either slowing down a little at work, not working as me, working 4 days a week or 3 days a week, and maybe 4 or 5 hours a day, not the normal 8 hours. And then some of them are completely retired.
Hmm.
And we'll talk a minute about how they filled up their schedule. But if they've retired and they have some flexibility, they're really desiring somebody else who has the same kind of flexibility in their schedule that you and I have. So that if you get clear about, well, when are you available? Really, when are you available? Put that in your profile. Make that part of your initial conversation. Gosh, this is the timing I have in my life to spend with someone right now. What kind of time do you have? And what are your available chunks of time during the day? Because I have found that, like I'll say, gosh, and I'm available for breakfast, or I could go to the movies sometimes in the late afternoon. And they don't always have that time in their schedule, especially if their time is already filled with other things or they're still working full time.
Yeah. I mean, my clientele mostly, I'm trying to think just on averages, most of my clients are basically working full time or they're full time entrepreneurs. But there is a difference between the two of them, because again, if they're working as an employee at a company, which quite a few of my clients are, that's a thing where they've got to plan around the weekends. And then, of course, when they have custody with their children, then they're dealing with that one as well. So finding time, I mean, 3 weeks out isn't a bad thing for a lot of people. It's like, they want to plan ahead. And frankly, in the dating pool, yes, there's a wonderful sense about swiping right on somebody and like, oh, let's get together tomorrow this time.
Yeah.
But also, in sometimes it's good to actually have that 3 or 4 week wait time, because you've got to get your life in order to make room for them in your schedule you already have. Because if you're spending your whole life waiting for that person to show up before you do anything, exactly. That's a trap you fall into as well. So yes, live your life anyway.
Yes.
Be in immersed in life, doing what you need to do. And again, if you have children to take care of, a job to take care of, everything else as well, be aware that you won't have at least in your awareness that when someone shows up in your life, you can make room for them. So you don't block out every part of your schedule completely and so committed that you'll never change it.
Yes.
So that's kind of the key I'm trying to say, is that yes, fill your life with wonderful activities, find things you want to love doing, especially if some of the activities can include a +1 at some point as well. Like with what you do with horses, having a +1 for that would be wonderful, I would suspect.
Oh, I would love that. I told you that initially in my profile, I had put, that it was okay if they weren't into horses. And now, because I really spend so much time doing it, I'm like, I really want them to. I want them to at least be interested. And now it has turned out that they're, even if they haven't ridden or they haven't ridden for a long time, they're really interested in getting back into it, which has been fun because I've written it and said it out loud. And the other thing that came up when you were talking was the man that said, gosh, she couldn't meet for 3 weeks. I said, well, let's set up some telephone time. Let's see if she has that available, because it could be just a convenient excuse. I'm not available for 3 weeks. And it turned out she really was happy to chat. Here's I have a half hour, or I have 15 minutes. I'm going to go pick up the grandkids at school, or, in between my other things in my Pilates class or whatever. And so they've been getting a chance to get to know each other. I said, you can video chat so that you can see each other, even if you can't actually meet in person. And I think it's charming. Often men are really the ones that want to meet in person quicker. Not all the women are like me, but I like a little, let's text a couple times, let's talk on the phone a couple times, or video chat a couple times, and then I'm happy to meet you. And it's not that I won't meet them without that. Me, I just like taking the little steps. I like moving a little slower. I want to get to know you ahead of time. I feel like I'll still have plenty of questions to ask, because they're like, well, what if I run out of questions? I go, if you run out of stuff to talk about, then that's your first thing. I don't think you're the right people for each other.
That's so true.
But don't you think that's a good test?
Speaking to that point, though, about the video calls and doing things early on, we talked about this in another show. I think we have here, probably, and certainly on Clubhouse. I talked about this before about self-protection when you're dating. So if you meet some of the dating apps, there's so many scammers out there, and this come up a lot in conversations recently because that's become prolific apparently in the dating app arena. Is when you meet someone on the dating app you're interested in, you swipe and you match up on the dating app. My encouragement is the first thing you do after you swap 1 or 2 text pleasantries is say, let's jump on a call or do a video chat now, so we get to know how we feel. Because first of all, it's good, because the thing is, if they're a scammer, they don't want to do that, because if you hear their voice doesn't match the person, or the video doesn't match the picture, you got a scammer. So of course they're going to avoid that, which is a good way of weeding out the scammers early on. So that's a tip. Second thing is and it's like you said, like for us men, we want to meet up pretty quickly. Yes, the allure and the mystery is wonderful for the woman to present, because there's always fun. It's very feminine. It's wonderful to play with. But also because we're hunters, the masculine energy is a hunter. We want to make sure that we are sort of our eyes are on the prize, so to speak. We want to meet somebody that goes, that's the one I want to be with. So we want to confirm that or eliminate that off our list. It sounds very mechanical, but it's the way we function. So knowing that it's like we meet somebody and we spend time on the phone calls, which is great too. But if it's just texting, it's all a fantasy. It's all like you're making things up from a few pictures you see online. And some people's profile pictures, if they're 15, 20 years old, or they're, it's like they're either just headshots. You can't see their body structure. You don't know what they look like in physical form. That can be a detriment if you don't know until you meet them, because then you can suddenly be shocked. So the sooner we sort of get past that hurdle, either by video chat or by meeting in person, then it's going to be more of like, okay, now we can plan ahead. Because part about do you have time to date is, are you going to spend all that time doing a lot of negative dates, like going, that's not the one, that's not the one, that's not the one? Or are you going to basically want to have time to meet one person that you want to date for a period of time extended?
Mm-hmm.
So the sooner you get to that point, I would suggest, the better it's going to be.
Mm-hmm. I agree 100%. And one more thing I'd like to touch on about the scammers is what the scammers will do too, is they'll want you to leave the dating app. They'll want you to go on WhatsApp or Google Hangouts, or often give me your email address, give me your phone number, which is why I use Google Voice for that very reason. You can talk, you can text, and they don't know your real number. There's no way they can find you that way. And it's so interesting. I mean, I've had some regular guys say, "What's that? And why do you use it?" And I explain it's on purpose until I've met you, either video or in person. I'm not going to give you my personal information. It's part of keeping me safe. And regular guys will go, "Oh, okay." It's not a huge hurdle. It seems reasonable. But the scammers, oh my gosh, they have to tell me how terrible I am, and have I been hurt so much I can't. I mean, really, the stuff they'll say, have I been hurt?
Yeah.
I'm never going to find anybody if I can't just trust. Like, well, I just learned I can't trust you.
Ding, ding, ding. The thing is also that
they show themselves so quickly. Yes.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah. And I mean, that's one reason why I think, especially due to the pandemic, I don't know how many of the dating apps do this, but a lot of dating apps, especially the ones I'm on as well, because I'm a single on dating apps, have a phone and video chat capability built into the app. And frankly, take advantage of that, because if you can use the app built in to eliminate the scammers, eliminate the bad choices, you don't give up any private information. Your phone number, email, stay safe. And I agree with you definitely. If you are going to have to go outside the app, Google Voice or some other in between ability to communicate, it doesn't give up your personal data. Definitely a wise choice until you know the person. Of course, once you know them and you trust them and it's good, then you can open up the doors and everything's fine.
Oh yeah, I will tell them. I mean, I will once I've met them and I know that I want to continue seeing them. Here's my real number. Here's my email address, because it's cumbersome. I get it. I mean, it's cumbersome for me. It's cumbersome for them, and it is well worth it to me to use Google Voice. And it is really quickly an eliminating tool for sure. So there's another thing. You have to make time to get a Google Voice number, which doesn't take a lot of time. But if you don't have any time in your life, there's an indication that maybe you need to be making a little more time in your life.
Absolutely. And that's the other part about dating too. You dropped this earlier on about having social activities, things you love doing in life as well. So again, if you're sitting at home waiting for that person to show up in your life before you do anything, you're doing it backwards. Because partly is you want to get and have a social life and be engaged in the world anyway, because you'll be more fun to be with when you do that. But secondly, and it's one of the side benefits, when you go out in life and you participate and do things that socially, you might just meet your person out there doing stuff you were doing anyway. You don't need the dating as your only resource.
Yeah.
So have a life that is social, is enjoyable, because, and I speak from experience, dating people at work isn't always a good idea. Did that a few times early on. That was errant approach. But the thing is, that's the thing also, because just a little overarching, altitude view is in the full-time career, like, corporate environments, because that's where we spend a lot of our time. For men especially, we're looking at the target field, so to speak, as being what's contained in that environment.
Yep.
So when we meet somebody, the odds are more likely we're going to meet somebody in the office because we spend 8 hours, 9 hours of our day in that one environment. So that's the reason why the office romances happen so often, and why it's good to have a social life outside of that, because then you can have hopefully a much more free-form environment that's also safer, because you're not risking political stuff at the work to meet somebody in your business environment.
Potentially could risk your job. I mean, because some places don't even allow you to date, and you'd have to date on the sly. And then, the dreaded, if you break up and now you're still working together.
Yeah.
Oh, and they start dating somebody else. Oh, I mean, really.
Been there, done that. Not fun. Many years ago.
It's not. you wouldn't even, I can't imagine you say don't ever, but do it very cautiously and carefully
Yeah.
if you're going to date somebody that in your office atmosphere. So the other part is about doing activities. Everybody I talk to, they are so enamored, drawn to, it's appealing to when somebody's feeling passionate about the thing that they're doing. If
Yeah.
they're, it helps them build up their self-confidence. You just get more attractive. It's amazing how it helps your insides, then gets reflected on your outsides.
Yeah.
So if you go find that you want to take a class to learn a language or a dance, a kind like ballroom dancing or line dancing, and you're doing this thing that just makes you feel all fun and excited, it's very catchy and very appealing. So
It's
there's
true.
no downside to going out and doing something that you already like or you'd like to learn more about, because you are going to just feel more juiced up, and there's your target audience of people that are already doing the same thing. Because people say, why is it harder now? Partly why it's harder now is we used to be surrounded with neighborhoods of people.
Hmm.
The kids, we went to school together with them, all the people that met, as teenagers and were married forever, or in college, or at the office, or at community activities. And if you don't go out and participate, you're not going to have that target rich opportunity again. So you
Right.
need to go join things. You need to go participate in things so that then you have this audience of people probably in your same age group, possibly single, and maybe even appealing to you. But you're not going to know until you go.
No, and part of it is you also have common ground, which is the other part about doing something where you practice a hobby, play, whatever it is, because there's a chance like you've got somewhere to start from. You both enjoy the same thing. That's a great thing to do. And of course, now we're coming out of the pandemic, at least this current phase of it. Getting out and doing things socially is becoming easier to do, less restrictive.
Yeah.
So to go out and do things that are fun, some people have been, been what's the word like, been cooped up inside for so long. They're like, how do I do that again?
Right. I think we're a little out of practice for sure.
Yeah, I mean, for me and my morning ritual, which, I go to the park and I hike, and I may bike over to the hills and go hiking up in the hills at the park. That for me is my daily commitment to myself. And yes, occasionally I see some attractive women over there. I don't know anything about it necessarily. Not, I mean, the other part also is being out in the wild, so to speak. Is building that familiarity. Certain people have become, even, we say hi in the morning, it's about as far as we get. But the opportunities are starting to get more and more available. So
Hmm.
getting out visibly is a good thing to do. So whatever it is you do, idea is not a solitary thing you do, but something that's social, that interacts with other people, crosses paths with other people, can be a great place to experience. So having time, well, do you have time for hobbies? So then you have time to date because of the hobbies. That sort of sequence could be good to have as well.
Yeah, I have a good girlfriend who married the man that she met when they were out running.
There you go.
She was running one direction, he was running the other. He went, oh, turned around and came and ran. It was very public, lots of people around, nothing scary about it. They chatted. There's benches where it was, so they ended up stopping and taking a break and talking. And gosh, would you like to go out for coffee? And they've now been married for over 30 years. Isn't that
See,
fun?
well,
And I
that was 30 years ago. I'm not sure how easy it is nowadays because of the whole,
know, yeah.
but still, it's still possible. Let's just
Yeah.
say that. Yes.
So now I have a more recent, one of my clients, he met his girlfriend. He went to the food pantry. He was looking around for volunteer opportunities, and it's a place where you can put together food boxes for people
Yeah.
to come and pick up that can't afford to go get their own food. And it's a whole room full of lots of women. I told him I thought it was a target rich, and it was a way he wanted to give back. And he likes growing things, so he was really interested in how they did kept the produce fresh and stuff. So he just got chatting with a number of the women, and there was one special that we talked about. And so they would just get talking about, well, what did you? Because they would go once a week, and what did you do over the weekend? And it turned out they both really like camping. We all know I'm allergic to it, but they like it a lot. And so he asked her for coffee, and now it's been like a year and a half. So how nice
Yep.
for them. And so what a really obtuse place to meet. but it's because he went there not to meet somebody, even though I said there's going to be lots of women.
Mhm.
He went because it was a place that spoke to his heart. It was a place that meant something to him, and he might meet a woman.
That's the thing is doing things that you enjoy doing tend to make you feel happier, to make you more
Hmm.
attractive.
Hmm.
So if nothing else, you feel good about yourself and you become more magnetic to whatever you're looking for in the universe. You want to speak more of the, manifestation focus, but also doing things like that, whether it's volunteering or it's going to go exercising, playing, hiking, whatever that is, or it's traveling, doing other things, maybe you're camping, doing things that get you out into the world outside of your house is a really good start.
Yes.
Because you can do on the apps and, you sit on your phone in your house and just like swipe, swipe, swipe. But getting out in the world, and even, I mean, often I take myself there's a coffee shop I love going to that's local, and I made some new friends there. And yeah, actually, and that's another place, just hang out there because one, it's also a good place to take your laptop and sit down and work. Again, opportunities to meet people. You can meet amazing people in coffee shops. I mean, yes,
Hmm.
maybe job opportunities too, but certainly social activities. So what I'm saying is think outside the box and think outside your house of things that you could go do that you would enjoy doing, that'd be fun. Maybe be something you could be of service to. Maybe something that make you feel healthier. Any combination of those things can be resources that get you in a place where you can meet somebody. And it's going to cause you to look at your calendar and say, when can I find time to go do those things?
Hmm.
So
Very
it's good stuff.
important.
Yes.
And I was thinking back about the times I've been, at a coffee shop, working on something, and you just look up and you're ready for a little break for your eyes, and there's somebody and you're like, gosh, what are you working on? That looks so interesting. And there was this guy that had come up with this energy drink, and he was doing all the marketing and these cool labels, and he said, let me send you some. And I'm like, okay. But it was, it wasn't, we weren't
Right.
going to go out. It was just this fun interlude, and to hear this guy was so excited about what he was doing and really wanted to tell me all about it, and like really beginning seed part but ready to launch. And gosh, it
Yeah.
was so fun. I mean, it was before I met Tony, so it's got to be like 15 years ago, and I still
Mhm.
remember because he was so excited about what he was doing. So you can't just stay all focused on your phone and on your laptop. That's the thing I want to point out, that you look up and you look around and you notice, you at least smile, at least say hello, or even, gosh, what are you working on? That looks really interesting. Most people are, unless it's top secret, and then what are they doing at Starbucks, that want to tell you about what they're doing. If they're excited about it, and you never know, you might get a client, or you might find out about something you've always been looking for, or you might get a date. I mean, you never know. And what I tell
Right.
clients is, you're not doing this to get a date. You're doing it to get more comfortable about it. You're doing it to practice. If you practice everywhere you go, smiling, saying hello, asking people, how did you come to be here? There's this new Amazon Fresh store. And I'm like, well, how did you find out about it? And what do you think about it? And I learned all about how you go scanning everything and you check yourself out of the store. It was so interesting. I had no idea.
Yep. So
So,
it's more, I want to share a couple of mine, but we have to take a break. When we come back from the break, we'll
oh,
continue this conversation for
good
sure.
thing you were
Listen,
paying attention. I was
I
not.
noticed. Yeah, I was. So we'll see you back in a minute and we'll talk more.
Thank you. Oops.
say so. So my spatial awareness is pretty good, but I do notice the little pop-ups very often. So, and you were talking, so I think you were just focusing on what you were talking on versus like talking and watching. So
Yeah, it
glad to
wasn't
be,
talking
we
and
cover each
watching.
other. We cover each other's butts, so to speak.
We do, and I'm really glad. I'm so glad we have that arrangement because it works for me really well.
So it's only about making time for dating, and I was going to speak on a couple of places. I have, especially when I was working on my book. Actually, even before that too, I spent a lot of time in coffee shops. It was just like I didn't want to spend time in the house, so I packed my laptop up and go to the coffee shop. And some of the friends I made there, no romantic partners. I'm just scanning back over the years, but friends I've made that I'm still in touch with now. This is like 15 years ago.
Hmm.
So I definitely vouch for, and I don't particularly recommend Starbucks or those chain coffee shops. I think more of the esoteric, more of the little coffee standalone and fun places. Because there's a couple places I go that are really cool because they've got a real nice Renaissance sort of feel to them. They're independent and they're really good, and frankly support independent businesses. I'm a big fan of that as well. But it's like one of those that I go to has couches and has desks and everything, so you can sit around where you want, and you're not sharing space with people. Rubbing elbows with strangers that you might become friends with. So if you're at a loss about what to do, or you're not sure about dating, or you're not sure where to go and do something like with that bravado, and you feel a bit nervous, sitting your butt down in a coffee shop that's more free form with your laptop or just with your phone and a cup of coffee and just enjoy the environment. You never know what can happen.
Mm-mm.
Just an idea.
And it'll just change your energy from being
Yeah.
in the house to being out in the world and overhearing a conversation. And the other thing, I've spent a lot of time in libraries. When I first started my coaching business, I didn't want to bring it to my house, and not everybody was so happy to talk on the phone. So I rented rooms at the local library, and I would get there before and I'd stay after. And you can talk in the library now, because when I was a kid,
Oh,
I know, heaven forbid you even whisper in the library. It was like
I
being in
remember those
Catholic
days.
school. Yes. And now people have, I mean, I was in a little room because it was a personal conversation, but people talk and laugh with the librarian people. So what the reason I'm saying is you could go sit, and I've done that at a pretty big table where other people are there with their laptops, and you can talk to them. It was so shocking to me, like the olden days, you never, but now, and so people go to the library for the free Wi-Fi a lot and to look up references, if they're starting a business. And I've met some really interesting people sitting at a table at the library. So there's another option besides, and I do like because I live in a college town, there are 4 colleges and 5 high schools. So we have we have 3 Starbucks that I could get to in 5 minutes, but there's 6 other independent coffee shops that are just one-offs, and they make sure that they have very different atmospheres from each other. And some have couches, some have like loungy things, and the atmosphere is really cozy living room feeling. And so it really is conducive to having a conversation with someone or just feeling more relaxed to look around. So I
Yeah.
love the idea of a coffee shop, and they really don't seem to have a problem with you staying there a long time.
Most of them don't. Yeah, they're not as specific. Like the chains are trying to move people through because it's a profit focus. So that's good. So the library is another option. So
Mm-hmm.
obviously we're providing some people opportunities of places to go. So let's get back to the time thing, because that seems, I think,
Well,
the
you're making
question.
time to go to the places, but now you're
Right,
making time to actually go on a date.
right. And the other part of that also is, do you need to mark up your calendar? I joked at the beginning about having feng shui for time. It's kind of like to fill in that little gap for you didn't realize it. Talking about feng shuiing at your home to make your environment conducive to a relationship, like having room for an extra toothbrush in your bathroom, having room in your closet for their clothes, having an extra drawer available for them to put their stuff in, making sure you have bedside tables on both sides of the bed, which sounds so simple now, but back in the day that was like a rarity. It's like those things create an environment for attracting relationship. So the same thing is I want to say is applied to your calendar. You make your calendar invitational to a relationship too. So making time, not necessarily hours and hours and hours, but making notes on your calendar, days. Maybe on Friday night you save that, and you don't necessarily go do 17 things every Friday, but to have room for a relationship, something like that. So start thinking how you'd like to make time on your calendar for a relationship, not 24/7 because you need to be doing your own life as well, but having room for that.
And then what are you going to fill in that time with? Is that when you're going to look at profiles? Is that when you're going to set up your phone calls? Is that when you're going to set up your initial meeting with people? Because you already have it blocked out.
Yes.
So that's, and you know how we are, at least you and I are for sure. Whatever we have on our calendar, we're going to keep because we're very committed to that. So you need to put yourself and your dating on your calendar. I mean,
Yeah.
if you don't, it's sort of like when I talk about, oh, we're going to have spontaneous sex. Well, I think you should have as much of that as you want. And you also need to have planned sex because spontaneous stuff doesn't always happen as much as we'd like. And the planned stuff, if you got it on your calendar, you will keep your appointment with each other. So you need to keep your appointment with yourself about dating and write it on your calendar. Type it in, block out a time. Block out a half hour or an hour or 45 minutes or whatever you're comfortable with, so that if in fact somebody wants to meet you in the next week, you have a spot available and it isn't necessarily going to be 3 weeks down the road.
Right.
Yeah.
But again, 3 weeks down the road might be okay.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's really okay. And this way you have some flexibility. You need to build some flexibility into your schedule.
Yeah. And the thing is also, and I get back to this whole thing again, is making yourself. I mean, I don't want to go into too many other topics because we can spend like hours and hours talking about this as we already do on our show. If you haven't watched our previous shows, make sure you go watch them. They're on our YouTube channels and Facebook, and at Roku and other places too.
I know.
The thing, just plugging what Cece's going to say as well. The thing is that also that these things that you work on for yourself, so you become more attractive rather than needy. Key difference. Are so important too. So what we said about doing volunteer stuff, we said earlier, and also about going out and doing social things that really you enjoy doing for you. Because if you're going out there looking for somebody rather than doing it for you, you become more repulsive to a relationship, repelling to a relationship. This sounds doesn't sound as bad as repulsive, but it's kind of that way. So,
it's a double problem.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's the repellent energy because neediness is not attractive, just to be clear, unless you're a predator. Another topic entirely. So let's staying on track here. It's like something's in my hands, like, let me stay present.
I know.
So being prepared for a relationship, having time to date also is about having time to take care of yourself and put yourself in a place where you become more attractive to date as well. So you also, with your calendar, you're making time so that you're not in a place where you can squeeze in 10 minutes and you're desperate when you show up at the time. That's not healthy. So being really clear about taking the time to enjoy your life, to be more attractive, to be more visible, more available, more open to relationship. As part of that, do you have time to date question? I should say it's one of the answers to do you have time to date, is that you can make time for yourself to be more dateable. That's a better way of putting it.
Much better than being repulsive.
It was a long way around to get to the point.
It's really true, though, that's such a good point that the more you try, the more you're trying to force something to happen. It's like when you put the opposite magnets and it just keeps pushing it away. Where when you're fluid and open and doing things that you enjoy and enjoying your life in general, it's very pulling in of energy, very attractive and attracting. And it's interesting. I tell you how I have women say nice things to themselves every day while they're brushing their teeth. And this one was telling me yesterday that she now has caught herself on her walks singing in her head, not out loud, but just singing a song in her head. And she said, lately, more people have been smiling at me. She goes, and I had to go, what's going on? I know. And I said, well, what do you think? And she said, I think it's because I look happier because I like singing in my head. But I didn't know they could hear me singing in my head.
It's not about the singing.
That it changed her whole continence, that people could see that she was kind of bouncing along, and they didn't know why, but she looked really appealing to smile at. Isn't that a cute story?
I love that story, and that illustrates the point. It's like when you are referencing yourself from a positive place, people outside notice. So if you come from a place of joy and openness, not to be like open to everything, but to really be sort of enjoying yourself and full of who you are and loving who you are. It radiates out. It brings in like energy. It's like attracts like is the way it works. So what you attract is something that's complementary to that. So yes, people will notice you when you're singing in your head positive things because you'll be visible because you'll be smiling, and maybe you'll have a
Yeah,
bounce in your step. People will go,
yeah,
they look happy.
I
So it's
know.
absolutely, yeah. I mean, it sounds that simple because it is that simple, really.
Mhm.
So yeah, absolutely, that's a genius. I mean, what you're saying is perfect. I mean, I do stuff with my clients that makers too, but that idea about singing to themselves when they're walking is genius. I love it.
And she came up with it all by herself. It just came up because she was feeling so positive about herself. I mean, I don't take any responsibility for the whole singing part. I never would have thought to suggest it. And now I'm thinking, well, maybe I'll suggest it now to other people if this is your jam. But it sure worked for her. She said it's just made her walks inside more fun and now outside more fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's good
I
to have.
love it.
It's good to have. If you're out walking, having music in your earbuds, whatever. If you're out somewhere where it's safe to do that with earbuds, of course. But having music can give you a bounce in your step, and you can you'll be dancing along the way as well. But if you got your own song running in your head, it's even better because then it goes at your own speed. Do whatever you want with it. So I love
I've
that.
done that. I've done a little loop if I was listening to music and it was a really kind of moving part. Not necessarily
Hmm.
was there anybody around to see it, but I had fun doing it.
Right. And this is the whole point. It's not we recommend these things not to be out there so you find out a way to lure somebody in. But it's really about how do you really enjoy being your own company so that you become more visible, more magnetic, more attractive. And so it's really about the inner work. And we talk about this so many times on our conversations about the inner work. Putting time, having time to date is about putting focus on yourself as well.
Yeah.
So I'm a big fan of that.
And if you're feeling fun and lovable and good looking and like, I'm a damn interesting person, it's going to show outside. If you're building up your own self confidence, and part of it is when you're taking care of yourself, and part of taking care of yourself is blocking out. I say I want to date. I said I want to meet somebody, then I'm going to block out time for it. I'm going to make time for me to go accomplish this goal. And
Yeah,
that will help you feel more positive. We all feel more positive when we do something nice for ourselves.
absolutely. And the thing, I mean, just something crossed my mind is something as I need to change as well. I've I go grocery shopping fairly often, like most people do, I suspect. But I've also been up until recently, I've been riding my bike to go grocery shopping. So I have my earbuds in, and oftentimes I go through the grocery store. I'm unaware of anybody else. I'm just focusing on what I need to do and get done and get out of there. But recently, because I've been driving around, I drove down to the market, and of course I don't put my earbuds in. I'm driving, so I walk in the grocery store, I don't have my earbuds in, and suddenly I'm like, oh, notice all the people. It's only me doing my thing. I kind of wear when I have my earbuds in too. But the thing is, what's happening though, because I don't have earbuds in, I can hear what's happening. Like surprise, surprise. But what's been happening is that I've actually had some conversation with people that I wouldn't have had if I hadn't heard what they were saying.
Yep.
So being available, so to speak, even in grocery stores,
Mm-hmm.
going on a run. They said earlier, you talking about your friend, your client went on a run. It's having your earbuds in is important when you want to exercising and everything else, perhaps. But sometimes it's good to put them on ambient mode so you can hear what's going on around you or taking them
Mm-hmm.
out.
Mm-hmm.
Oftentimes when I see people I want to talk to, like I'll take one earbud out so because I see them coming, so then I can at least interact with them. So I don't be totally cut off because one of the problems with those earbuds is they can be pretty much isolating.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're having time in the world, maybe you'll have added opposite possibilities to meet people by being more available.
Yes. Boy, that is such good advice, Mr. Barry. Yeah, because it's funny.
Reflecting on this one myself.
I love it. I love that you're calling yourself out. You're really good about that. We do that for each other and ourselves all the time because we're in the trenches with everybody else. And it's funny because I imagine you would notice, but most men tell me I have to be hit over the head with a frying pan to notice if somebody's flirting with me. So it'd be even harder to notice if you can't even hear them going, could you get something off the shelf? Hello? Hello? I'm
I like
trying to flirt with you. Christine told me I'm supposed to ask men to help, and now I'm trying to get your attention.
point made. Point made.
This is my very gentle chastising, encouraging, not in chastising, encourage you
Right.
to
Indeed.
do. But I'm glad you discovered that, because it is hard when you're focused and you want to get done and you want it to, get in and out. But it's a target-rich place in the grocery store to meet single
Yes, it
women.
is. Especially around the produce.
There's lots of women in the grocery store
Mhm.
that are
So,
single and cute and probably like to cook.
the plus is right there.
I know. It's a good qualifying thing. Oh, they're in the grocery store. They're buying fresh things. They must cook.
But it's always good to ask. Don't make assumptions. That's another topic. So on that note,
Yes.
I think we're wrapping up now. I think yes.
Questions about how to make time to date, or you don't even know how to make time to date. Your life is too full, or you don't know where to fit it in. That's what Barry and I can help you with, in between making you laugh, hopefully, too.
Hopefully, yes.
Hopefully. So the way that you get a hold of me is through my website, which is www.theperfectcatch.com. And click on its back, what's holding you back from love. And then you can fill out a brief questionnaire and schedule a conversation with me for a whole hour for free. And we can talk about the challenges that you're having in your dating life and hopefully get you some solutions. You can also send me a personal email at christine@theperfectcatch.com. And then you can find me on all the social media platforms of Facebook and LinkedIn and Pinterest and Instagram and YouTube and Twitter.
That's the one. Nicely done.
You were channeling it to me. And
I was.
tell everybody how to get a hold of you, Mr. Selby.
Certainly. So like Christine, I have a website and also have social media. So if you want to reach out to me, my website is barryselby.com, which is my name. And pretty much all my social media is my name except for Instagram, which I'll get to. But on my website, on the front page, there are a couple of links. One at the top is a take your next step, which is a way to do the same thing. You sign up there, you fill out a form, schedule on my calendar. We have a free conversation, and we get to see where you are and where you're at, where you want to go. And I can help you navigate the next steps of what you want to do, and we want to see if we want to work together. At the bottom of the screen is a link to join my email list. You can just sign up right there if you want to. And also, my website is a bunch of other things, my book and online courses and other things as well. You can check it out. But on social media, my name is my platform, is my handle and everything. So Barry Selby on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Clubhouse, Pinterest, and there was one other one I want to add as well, which is YouTube. Yes, YouTube. Instagram is the real Barry Selby. This is my original handle. I got lost a long time ago. So basically, it's Barry Selby everywhere except Instagram, which is the real Barry Selby. And YouTube is where you find the replays of this show for me on my channel. I'm sure it's on the Going Solo media as well. So make sure you follow us and check us out, because we have lots of good content to share.
Yes, and we're here every week sharing wonderful content at 1 o'clock Pacific and 4 o'clock Eastern and all the times in between. So we hope that you'll come back next week and watch and share with your friends who are having dating dilemmas and challenges, because we think we can be really helpful for them. And we've made lots and lots of videos together, and I think you could find a subject or two that would appeal to you.
At least a couple, yes.
At least a couple. Because you've made all your very own, and then we have lots together now. So
we have, yes, indeed.
The library of resources.
It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger.
It's really fun.
Yeah.
I like it.
We'll see you again next week then.
Bye for now.